Hello and welcome back to Composition for this week. This week we are going to be talking about the effects of the number and the length of your lines in your song. The lyrical effects of the number and the length of the lines in your song. As always, this presentation can be found on our Google Classroom if you wish to go through it on your own time or even more in depth. You're free to do so. Let's begin. So remember, in songwriting, prior to this, we talked about prosody. Okay, that idea of bringing everything together, how all the elements work together with those 6 best lyrical friends. Now, today, we're going to be talking about the tools that you can use in your composition, in writing your lyrics for your song. There are 5 different tools: the number of lines, the length of the lines, the rhyme scheme, the different types of rhyme, and the rhythm of the lines. Today we're going to be talking about the number of lines and the length of the lines. Are they matched or are they unmatched? Do they match up in terms of length, or is one line shorter than the other? And what is the effect of that? All right, let's begin. So the effect of the number of lines. So is it good to use an odd or even number of lines? Well, it depends on what you want to do and what you're trying to do. The number of lines has a way of creating spotlights within your music. By having longer lines, you create a focus point. By having shorter lines, you create more tension or more forward motion. By having lines that are of equal length, we call this balanced. Now, lines can create motion forward or a stop motion in your piece. So using an even number of lines, for example, if you have a verse that has 4 lines, that is 4 lines long, this creates the sense that, okay, the music is finished, right? Evenness is a nice thing to have. An odd number of lines that are 3 or, for example, 5 times long in terms of your verse, so if your verse is 3 lines long, that creates the sense of, you know what, let's keep going, right? If it's 4 lines long, you have line 1 matches line 2, line 3 matches line 4. But in an odd number of lines where you have 3 or 5 lines, it gives this sense of incompleteness. It needs to be finished, right? Because if you have a verse that is 3 lines long, you have line 1 matches line 2, but then you have line 3 that's just hanging out in no man's land, or waiting to be finished, or waiting for a partner to join up with and be, finish the end of the song. And so odd number of lines can be used in different sections to create this idea of forward motion. Even number of lines creates this sense of completeness, doneness. Sorry, I'm just staring at my window and there is a giant bee the size of my fist. Insane. All right, sorry. Focus. Here we go, folks. You can use an even number of lines for stop motion, okay, and an odd number of lines to keep the song going. So what is the effect of the number of lines? Well, if you take a listen to The Great Pretender by the Platters, you will see that the first 2 verses of this song are 4 lines, okay, with a 2-line bridge, and the last verse is 5 lines long. You don't expect it to be 5 lines, and so it becomes this huge spotlight. Because it's 5 lines long, that last line, right, is then highlighted. That's the main focus. And it creates contrast between the different sections, different stanzas, the different verse and choruses in this song itself. And the number of lines can actually change the tone of your song. Remember, an even number of lines gives you this sense of completeness, of doneness, that the song is over, that we can now relax. But an odd number of lines gives this sense of incompleteness, unease. There's something missing, something more. We want something more. So it gives a different tone, different color to the song. So what affects the number of lines in a song? Remember these four things. These four things are really important. The number of lines in a song can spotlight important ideas. It can give this forward motion or stop motion. It can create contrast, right? 4 lines versus 2 lines. 3 lines versus 5 lines. There's contrast. Or, for example, right? 4 lines versus 3 lines. What does that tell you? There must be some kind of bridge or connecting stanza in between to connect the end of the song with that first part. So you might have, for example, right? 4-line first verse, 3-line second verse. Interesting stuff. Then you have this 2-line bridge that brings it all back then to maybe a chorus, a 4-line chorus. And the last thing to remember in terms of the effect that the number of lines has in your song is that an even or an odd number can support or create emotions in your song. And essentially we call this prosody, right? Bringing things together to solidify and highlight and drive your main idea in the song. So the length of the lines is the second element to creating prosody in your song, to creating that sense of togetherness, that sense of completion of a song. Remember, stability stops the song, right? 4 lines, boom, 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 right? That stops the motion of the song, that completes things. 3 lines creates this instability, right? It wants us to keep going because remember, line 1 matches with line 2, but then line 3 is thrown in there and it's just hanging out, waiting to be finished. And it keeps us going. It creates that instability. So if you think of it this way, even number of lines is stable. Odd number of lines is unstable. Now, when 2 lines match their lengths, we usually feel balanced. When the syllables in each of the lines match up and the length is the same, we feel balanced. We feel complete. We feel that that stanza, that verse, that chorus is resolved. But when 2 lines have different lengths or unmatched lengths, or when one line has a certain number of syllables and the other line has fewer or less number of syllables, things don't feel as stable. They don't feel as balanced. They feel unresolved. For example, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the foot. That sounds weird, doesn't it? Not only because mo doesn't match with foot in terms of rhyming, but eeny, meeny, miny, mo, so 7 syllables, catch a tiger by the foot. Also 7 syllables. And so even though foot and mo don't rhyme, the length of the lines is the same in terms of syllables. And so, sure, because foot and mo don't rhyme, gives us a sense of instability, because we are very used to the rhyme, but it's actually 2 complete lines that match together. They are even number. So there's 2 lines, even. And the number or the length of the number of syllables or the length of each line is the same. This creates stability. So in actual fact, these 2 lines are stable. But here's another example. Mary had a little lamb. Fleece was white as snow. Interesting. Mary had a little lamb, 7 syllables. Fleece was white as snow, 5 syllables. So our second line, fleece was white as snow, is actually shorter than the first line in terms of syllables and length, and thus it creates instability. It wants us to go forward. Mary had a little lamb, fleece was white as snow, something, 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 something. We want it to finish. It feels like it should move forward. Sure, there's 2 lines, even number of lines, some form of stability, but because those lines don't match up in length and syllables, there's instability. There's an unease or an unfinish of those lines. So length of lines is really important. Let's take a look at a few examples. Just a little shoebox in a package. Mama must have kept it all these years. So we have 2 lines, somewhat stable. Let's take a look at the syllables. Just a little shoebox in a package, so 10 syllables. Mama must have kept it all these years, 9 syllables. Okay, 9 and 10 syllables, it's pretty close. The length is close. In terms of the actual words in the 2 lines, just a little shoebox in a package. Mama must have kept it all these years. There's this sense of, okay, we're done, right? Both lines resolve. Things seem finished. There's no real sense to move forward. But let's take a look at the next line. Just a little shoebox in a package. She kept it all these years. It feels undone, right? It feels like it needs to be finished. If we look at the syllables, just a little shoebox in a package, 10 syllables. She kept it all these years, 6 syllables. There's quite a difference in the length of those 2 lines, creating this sense of incomplete, that we need to move forward. Just a little shoebox in a package. She kept it all these years. Da 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 da. We need something else to finish that section, that verse. Right? It feels unfinished. Here's a couple more examples. Here comes the sun. Fingers of gold. Pretty complete, pretty finished. Let's look at syllables. Here comes the sun. 4. Fingers of gold. 4. Boom. Complete, stable, nothing moving forward. How about this example? Here comes the sunrise. Fingers of gold. Now, it makes the first line slightly longer, and the second line then feels unfinished, right? Here comes the sunrise, 5 syllables. Fingers of gold, 4 syllables. So there's still this sense of incomplete, right? It's not as bad, but it's here comes the sunrise. Fingers of gold, ba-dee-ba-dee-ba-dee-ba, ba-doo-ba-doo-ba. It needs something else. Remember, equal line length will be your friend, but if you're trying to create a section where you want to keep the motion going and to create this sense of unease or instability, or this sense, this emotion of leaving your audience kind of wondering and wanting more, shorten the length of typically the second line or the last line in your stanza. So we go back to our shoebox. Just a little shoebox in a package. Mama must have kept it with her all these years. So the longer second line, okay, it's noticeably longer. The syllables are longer. It gives us a feeling of instability. Now, normally, what happens when you want the lyrics to move forward or give your audience that sense, or your listener that sense of, oh, we want more, you would typically shorten that last line. But when you lengthen the last line and create that instability, you are then highlighting something in that second line, in that last line. And here, right, just a little shoebox in a package, 10 syllables. Mama must have kept it with her all these years. We get the ending, right? It's usually the ending of that last line, if it's longer, all these years. That is the spotlight. That's the thing you're trying to shine bright in your lyrical verse, in your stanza, in this section of the song. That's the thing you want to stand out the most, that you want your audience to remember. Just a little shoebox in a package. Mama must have kept it with her all these years. That's the spotlight. So, some rules to remember, things to think about. When you have a line length established, it is up to you then what to do next. You can match the lines so that the syllables and the length match up. Boom! Stability. Completion. You can create a shorter line. That second line can be created, that can be shorter in terms of syllables, in terms of length, to create this idea of forward motion, to make your audience and make your listeners want more. Or you can actually lengthen that second line to spotlight something important in your lyrics. Just a little shoebox in a package. Mama must have kept it with her all these years. So if we put it to music, just a little shoebox in a package. Mama must have kept it with her all these years. Now, when you increase the second line on the way through, you balance the first line, right? Just a little shoebox in a package. Mama must have kept it with her. Boom, balanced. But then this little extra bit, all these years, these extra syllables, the extra length in the line is spotlit. And that's the thing you want your audience, your listener, to take away with them. So, the effects of line length. Okay, line lengths can create expectations, right? Your listener, if your line lengths don't match up, well, they expect them to match up. That's the thing. The consumer expects the lines to match up, to things to be complete, things to be resolved. But if they don't match up, then give your audience that expectation of, hey, don't push pause, don't stop the music, there's more. Line lengths can create prosody, can create emotions, can create the sense of everything coming together for a specific reason to highlight whatever the idea of the song is. By adding extra stuff in the last lines, you can then spotlight specific notions in the song or verse or chorus variations. By spotlighting these important ideas, you're shining light on a specific chunk of the line that you want your audience to see or hear in the lyrics. Remember, stability creates satisfaction of the expectations that your listener has. Instability creates the expectation of more, giving your audience that expectation of more. Hey, don't go anywhere, don't pause. I got more for you. It also allows things to move forward, to make your listener want more. So remember, the more you raise your listener's expectation about the thing that is going to happen in your song, you've hooked them. So the more instability, the more expectation of wanting more that you create throughout the song, the more it hooks your listener into listening to the entire song and waiting for it to resolve, waiting for you to spotlight something at the end. Because essentially, once you've hooked them, they then belong to you. Dun dun dun! That's all I got for today, folks. Thank you very much. As always, don't forget to answer this week's discussion question based on this presentation. Excuse me, if you have any questions. Whoa, there's that giant bee again. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I look forward to our discussions on this topic throughout the week. Have an awesome week ahead. Bye for now.